Welcome back to the deep dive. You know that feeling. A classic game gets re-released, you see remake or remaster on the title,
And you get that immediate hit of nostalgia.
followed like a split second later by this wave of suspicion.
Oh, absolutely. And that suspicion is, frankly, completely warranted. The industry has been playing fast and loose with these terms for years.
It feels like marketing just throws them around as buzzwords.
They do. They treat them as interchangeable excitement words, and that leads to totally mismatched expectations for players.
Exactly. Am I getting a fresh coat of paint here, or am I getting a brand new car that just kind of looks like the old one?
That's the perfect way to put it. And that's our whole mission for this deep dive. We're going to go through the sources you've sent us, everything from Dark Souls to the latest patches, and just distill it.
Give you a shortcut.
A clear shortcut, because really it all comes down to one core philosophical choice the developer has to make.
Right. Are they focused on preservation of that original game, warts and all?
Or are they going for a complete reimagination? That choice, right there, is the single clearest line between a remaster and a remake.
Okay, let's start with preservation then. Let's define the remaster. When a developer says they're doing a true remaster, what are they actually committing to?
They're committing to keeping the foundation, the absolute bedrock. A remaster updates a game, but it has to use the original codebase and assets as its starting point.
So the core experience, the logic, how the game feels, that stays the same.
It has to. It's all about modernization, not reinvention. The game physics, the level geometry, that remains untouched.
So it's like they're just running the old game through a really fancy new filter.
That's a great way to think about it. Yeah, you'll see visual fidelity boosts, for sure. Higher resolutions, maybe 4K.
And higher frame rates, going from 30 to 60 frames per second is huge.
Oh, it's transformative. And you'll get some quality of life features, or QL, thrown in to make it a bit smoother.
Let's talk about a gold standard for this then. Dark Souls Remastered. That seems like a really clean example of this preservation approach.
It's a perfect example because it also shows the strict limits they put on themselves. They use the original engine, and the level design is identical.
The enhancements are pretty surgical, right? Better texture filtering, that 60 FPS lock.
Exactly, and bumping the online player count from 4 to 6. Little things.
I always thought the most interesting change was the quality of life stuff. Because with a game like Dark Souls, that's a dangerous thing to touch.
It's so dangerous. Think about the one change fans debated forever, adding that new bonfire near Blacksmith Vamos.
In the catacombs, right. Which on the surface is just a checkpoint, a convenience.
But in a game that is defined by its brutal checkpoints, even adding one bonfire can be seen as messing with the difficulty curve.
So wait, does that one change risk pushing it out of the remaster category?
See, that's the nuance of it. They preserve the fundamental challenge. The AI, the weapon scaling, it's all the same. And the sources are clear on this. They deliberately did not touch the netcode, and they made 0 balance changes to weapons or magic.
So they refused to touch the core mechanics.
Yeah.
The math behind the difficulty.
Precisely. That solidifies its status. It's an updated version of the same experience, even if they made the run back from one blacksmith a little easier.
That dedication to the original code, it really shines with developers who specialize in this, like Night Dive Studios.
Night Dive is obsessive. For System Shock 2, 25th Anniversary Remaster, their whole philosophy is fascinating. They actually describe their work as adapting legacy source code and doing lots of reverse engineering when that source code is lost.
Wait, reverse engineering lost code just to keep the foundation? That sounds more like archaeology than game development.
It basically is digital archaeology. They're modernizing the old renderer, adding high-res assets, modern shaders, but they are completely constrained by that original code.
The message is clear.
Yeah.
Respect the original architecture.
If you're doing that, you're remastering.
Okay, let's bring this to a more recent, massive example. The Fallout 4 Next Gen update. People were expecting something huge, but what we got was very much a remaster.
A textbook remaster, yeah. And it was limited by its foundation. Fallout 4 runs on the Creation Engine, which has roots in code that is ancient at this point.
So to fundamentally change that game would mean a whole new engine.
Which would be a remake. So the small scope of that update, 4K, ultra-wide support, some performance modes, was determined by the fact they were just building on top of that old code.
They were just optimizing and debugging what was already there.
Exactly. They couldn't do a massive overhaul without the whole thing collapsing. The original engine forced it to be a remaster. That's the hard line. Preservation on top of original code.
Okay, so if a remaster is all about preserving that original code, then a remake is defined by just blowing it all up.
Pretty much. You're moving from preservation to a complete teardown and rebuild.
Rebuilding from scratch.
Yes. A remake means abandoning the original code base entirely. You're using a modern engine like Unreal 4 or 5 and creating completely new assets.
And that's the key, right? New assets.
Yeah.
Not just upscaling a texture, but building new character models, new animations, new lighting from zero.
It gives them the freedom to totally reimagine the entire visual style. And the most just stunning example of this has to be Bluepoint's Demon's Souls for the PS5.
Right. They used their own engine. They didn't touch the original PS3 code at all.
And the specifics of the asset replacement are just incredible. Our sources point out things like the blacksmith. In the original, he has this like dirty rag on. In the remake, it's damaged leather armor with visible stitching and wear patterns.
The Maiden in Black, too. The detail in her robes just wasn't possible on the PS3.
Exactly. We're talking massively increased polygon counts, redesigned models, new lighting. Visually, it's a new game.
But hold on. If they rebuilt everything, new engine, new assets,
Okay.
how did they keep the feel, the weight, the speed, the timing that made the original so unique?
That's the magic trick. Bluepoint preserved the feel by integrating the original gameplay code, the math that governs movement, collision, damage into their modern engine.
So they built a brand new house, but brought the old plumbing over to make sure the water pressure felt the same.
That is a perfect analogy. It's this incredible fusion of modern looks and vintage feel.
Now, if Demon's Souls is an example of preserving the gameplay, then Final Fantasy VII Remake is the exact opposite.
That's the ultimate test of reimagination right there.
It proves a remake can literally change genres.
Completely. It was built in Unreal Engine 4, and it didn't just look different. It fundamentally changed the core combat from turn-based strategy to a real-time action RPG.
And it wasn't just the combat. They expanded the story. They reimagined the entire city of Midgar. What was maybe a 6-hour intro in the original?
It became a full 40-hour game. That level of change, the scope, the genre shift, it confirms it's a new title built on the inspiration of the classic. It's a reinterpretation, not just a revival.
And this is where it gets so confusing for you, the consumer. Because marketing departments know that the word remastered sometimes has more nostalgic punch than remake.
Which brings us to the murky gray area of marketing. You absolutely cannot trust the label on the box. A great example from our sources is the rumored Elder Scrolls Thorth Oblivion remaster.
Despite the name remastered, all the evidence points to it being a full-blown remake.
It has to be.
So what are the giveaways? What tells us it's a remake, not a remaster?
Well, first flag, it's reportedly being built entirely in Unreal Engine 5. New engine means remake. End of story, usually.
But there's more.
Oh, yeah. We're talking fully updated character models, revised NPC AI, a totally redesigned UI.
Okay, but changing the actual gameplay mechanics, that's the real nail in the coffin, right?
That's it. The plan reportedly involves adjusting the level scaling and combat. The original Oblivion had that, let's say, infamous level scaling that made enemies into damage sponges at high levels.
If they fix that, they're fixing a core-defining feature or flaw of the original design.
Exactly. When you are changing the fundamental way the game is played, you are delivering a remake, no matter what the box says.
That mechanical change is definitive proof of reimagination, not preservation. It shows why we have to look past the label and ask, is it a new engine? Are the core systems different?
And you even see this labeling confusion within a single company. I mean, look at Nintendo with The Legend of Zelda. We could call it the Zelda test.
So how does the Zelda test work?
Well, take The Legend of Zelda, Wind Waker HD. That's a remaster. It kept the same art style, same geometry, just upscaled it with some new lighting. The core game is identical.
But then you have Ocarina of Time 3D.
And that's a remake. It had brand new character models, completely rebuilt texture packs, a redesigned UI for the second screen. They had to rebuild those assets from scratch. Firmly a remake.
So, okay, let's tie this all together. What does this actually mean for you when you're deciding whether to buy one of these? Why does this distinction matter so much?
It all comes down to what you value. Remasters are, in a way, the historical record. They're the safe bet for authenticity.
You're getting the game as you remember it, just running better.
Exactly. If you want to experience the true challenge of a 15-year-old game, a remaster is your ticket. Remakes, on the other hand, they offer accessibility.
And modernization.
Right. They take calculated risks. They might change gameplay, which can be controversial for hardcore fans, but they also make these classics enjoyable for new audiences who just can't deal with clunky old controls or broken systems like Oblivion's leveling.
There's one other group this really impacts, too. The modding community. We mentioned Night Dive preserves the engine to keep mods working.
The modding ecosystem is maybe the clearest differentiator outside of the tech itself. Because remasters keep that original codebase, they're usually compatible with the old mods.
The structure is familiar, so the tools still work.
It preserves that whole extended life for the game. But a remake built from scratch on a new engine, completely destroys that ecosystem.
The community has to start over.
They do. They have to build new tools for Unreal Engine 5. Both are valuable, you know? Remasters keep history alive, remakes introduce it to the future. But the consumer and the community, they need to know which one they're getting into.
This has been so clarifying. It cuts through all the marketing hype. The fundamental line is crystal clear. Preservation of the original code, that's a remaster.
Yeah.
Rebuilding from the ground up with a new engine, that's a remake.
And if we bring it back to the consumer, it raises one last important question for you to think about. Given that a developer can release a project like The Elder Scrolls of 4.3, Oblivion, with the title Remastered,
Right.
while also planning to fundamentally change its core systems like level scaling, is the industry really doing enough to be transparent?
Are they labeling these projects clearly enough so you know if you're buying an authentic piece of history or a modern and maybe controversial reinterpretation? That's the challenge every single time.